It's only been a few days into NBA free agency, and we've already seen some ridiculous overpays, with NBA teams handing out $260 million deals like it's candy. And we've also seen some league-altering trade requests that will completely change the look of the NBA. Starting off with free agency, we have to talk about the Houston Rockets. Fred VanVleet got a 3-year, $128 million contract with an average salary of $42.8 million. Now, Fred VanVleet isn't a bad player, but this is a horrible deal. Around $43 million for a 20 points per game scorer and someone whose three-point percentage has dropped from 37 to 34% just does not sound like a good deal, especially when you pair it with the other signing, Dillon Brooks. I mean, I guess Dillon Brooks poking the bear wasn't such a bad idea for him because he just got $80 million over 4 years. Brooks can bring much needed defense to the Rockets and shoots about 33% from 3, but this deal just doesn't make sense. It's an overpay, plus you're limiting the minutes of young, developing players on the Rockets. And speaking of young, developing players, LaMelo Ball just got $260 million over 5 years. For a player that is injury prone and not a true superstar yet, I don't think that this is a good deal. Now, I understand Charlotte does not have much going for itself, and they need to keep any talent that they have, which LaMelo could turn into a really good player someday, maybe even top 5 in the NBA. But this contract does not make sense right now. This makes LaMelo the second highest paid player in NBA history, and that just doesn't sit right with me. But LaMelo could be a true superstar. He's the reason why people go to Charlotte Hornets games, and he's the best player on the team. Unlike Desmond Bane, who just got 5 years and $207 million. Now, I get it, Desmond Bane is a great shooter and he's a key piece on this Grizzlies team, but $207 million? I will say though, he's a 42.5% career three-point shooter, which is very impressive, and he takes difficult threes regularly. He attempted 3.5 catch and shoot threes and 3.3 pull-up threes per game, and he made them both above 40%. So if you're a Grizzly fan, I hope he keeps up that consistency. And last on the list of overpays is Jeremy Grant. He just signed a 5-year, $160 million deal. Jeremy Grant is a good player, and he had a very good year in Portland last year, but I just don't see how it makes sense in Portland. Grant scored 20.5 points per game and a 40.1 three-point percentage last year, so he is a very valuable piece, and maybe they want to build around him and Scoot Henderson. But ultimately, they won't make the playoffs, maybe at best the play-in, and it just seems like he could be used better on a contending team, and this contract is just going to mess things up when they're rebuilding. But luckily, there is one man who is finally getting out of Portland, and that is Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard requested a trade with a preferred destination in Miami, and he says that he wants to play with Jimmy and Bam, but I just don't see how that's realistic. I don't see a situation where Bam isn't included with the trade for Portland for it to be a fair deal. Tyler Hero and a bunch of picks or pick swaps just isn't going to cut it, and as of now, the Heat have first-round picks in 2024 and 2026 through 2030. They do have significant draft capital, but a lot of times for the big-name players, teams want a high-caliber player to be returned for a blockbuster trade. And with Anthony Simons and just being picked at number 3, Scoot Henderson, I don't see why they would want another guard. They need depth in the front court, so I see Bam being part of that deal. But the Heat don't even want to give up Caleb Martin, so do you really think they're going to give up Bam? Other teams that I think could have a shot at Dame could be Milwaukee if they give up Drew Holiday, picks, and some pieces. Brooklyn would be a good destination since they have Mikal Bridges and a lot of picks, but ultimately for Dame, that would just be the same situation. They would just be mediocre and there would be no other true star to pair him with. And Dame could even land in Philly for the next man who requested a trade, James Harden. Harden must be trying to collect every single NBA jersey because he has been on about 20 teams by now. I thought that James Harden in Philly was actually a pretty good fit, but he requested a trade and he has played his last game as a Philadelphia 76er. Top destinations for Harden could be the Knicks or the Clippers. The Clippers are thinking of breaking up PG and Kawhi, so one of them may be included in that deal. But Woj reported that Philly's asking price for Harden is extremely high, and the 76ers will wait for the most advantageous deal to accommodate for the trade request. So it might be a while before he gets out of Philly. But moving on from all this drama, there have been some good deals that have happened in free agency so far. The first one of those being Kyrie Irving signing a 3-year, $126 million deal for a salary of $42 million per year, which is actually just about as much as Desmond Bane is getting. Crazy. This keeps Luka's help on offense in Dallas, and also to add to that, Seth Curry signed with Dallas as well. But the real issue with that team last year was their defense, so they do need to add some more pieces in that area. Another good signing was Tyrese Halliburton getting a max extension for 5 years and $260 million for the Pacers. Tyrese Halliburton is a 40% three-point shooter over his career, and last season he scored 20 points per game and 10 assists per game, and I think he's really becoming a superstar in this league. Well deserved for Tyrese and a good move for the Pacers. Another great signing was the Clippers re-signing Russ for only $8 million over 2 years. He is getting annually $16 million less than Dylan Brooks. That is wild. But it's a great signing for the Clippers, and it keeps their veteran point guard depth. And speaking of veteran point guards, Philadelphia just got one of their fan favorites in Patrick Beverley. If you could describe Philadelphia in one NBA player, it would be Pat Bev. He brings that dog, that grime, that grit, and those fans will love him there. His defense is going to be needed, and he actually shoots 37.3% from deep over his career, so he could help in that way too. And overall, the Lakers have done amazing in free agency so far. They re-signed AR-15 himself, Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, who was fantastic in the playoffs, and D'Lo, while also adding Gabe Vincent, Jackson Hayes, Cam Reddish, and Taurean Prince. These pieces are amazing to put around LeBron and AD. Their team has real depth now, and they have good players at basically every position. Lakers just might be a scary team to watch for next year. Who do you think has won in free agency? What signing has been the best, and what has been the worst? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time.